Hey, welcome back. So today we're jumping into a really tough question from our source material, one that's super personal. How in the world do you help someone who just doesn't want to be helped?
All right, let's frame this whole thing with a pretty wild thought. Forget about school grades for a second. Just imagine that your entire life, your very existence, is one long class. And failing? Well, failing isn't just about repeating a year. It's about whether you get to exist at all. So our story here really starts with this character, Evan, who's wrestling with this exact problem. And in his search for some kind of answer, his father introduces him to this incredible idea, the most perfect, pure form of communication you can possibly imagine.
Yeah, so this is way beyond just talking. It's like a complete merger of two minds. Think about two people connecting so perfectly that for a moment they just become one. There's no ego, no hiding, no misinterpretation, just pure, instant, shared truth. That's the goal. That's the ultimate connection.
And in a perfect world, here's how that connection is supposed to work. It's a top-down flow. The inspiration comes from this divine source. It filters through your soul, and then your ego, your conscious self, is supposed to act on it out here in the real world. Simple, right?
Well, of course not. There's a huge problem with this perfect, simple connection. That signal, it almost never gets through clean. And that's because there's a war going on inside every single one of us. You see, according to the source material, the soul isn't just one pure thing. It's split right down the middle. There's the part that's trying to grow, to learn, to become better. And then there's this perverted shadow side that just wants to use everything for its own selfish gain. Which leads us to this fantastic metaphor for what that feels like. Our body, our life, is like a horse. But there are two riders fighting for the reins, your virtuous soul and that shadow dweller. And they're both pulling in completely opposite directions. And here is the core of the problem, this impossible loop. The very people who are most desperate for a place like Soul School have an inner saboteur, that shadow, that actively prevents them from seeking help. They are truly, completely stuck. And if that internal fight wasn't bad enough, the problem gets even bigger. Because out in the world, there are these other options, these easier, much more appealing alternatives. Our main character, Evan, he actually does the math on this. And he figures out that a lot of these popular, easy paths offer less than 9 hours of actual training. A year. Think about that. No homework, no real effort. And that's exactly why they're so popular. They're easy. I mean, you can see the difference right here. One path is all about hard, painful work to achieve real virtue. The other path, it appeals directly to the shadow side. It offers you power, pleasure, and it's quick and easy. If you're a soul trying to avoid real work, which one are you going to choose? And make no mistake, this isn't some passive system. It's described as an all-out spiritual war. These false teachers, they will literally fight to keep their students. They would rather see a soul completely destroyed than let it transfer to a place of real learning. Okay, so we've got an internal war and an external war. But what actually happens if you fail? What are the real stakes here? Why does this graduation thing matter so much? So the source makes this really fascinating distinction. See, regular schools, they teach us knowledge and skills, right? Morals can be kind of flexible. But Soul School's entire curriculum is built on virtue and cosmic law, because the stakes are just infinitely higher. And here's why. This is the cosmic bombshell. The idea is that just one single being with total free will but zero virtue could literally tear a perfect world apart. So graduation isn't just about you, it's a requirement for cosmic safety. And that brings us to the most shocking consequence of all. This is what happens if you fail. Souls that just refuse to learn, the ones that let that shadow energy take over, they don't just get held back. They can actually fall apart. They dissolve into nothing. So this completely redefines what virtue is. It's not just some moral high ground. In this system, virtue is the literal glue that holds your consciousness together. Without enough of it, you just shatter. You cease to exist. So, you've got internal resistance, you've got external enemies, and the stakes are total annihilation. How do you possibly solve that? Well, Evan's father offers a final, really profound solution. And it's not about arguing or recruiting. It's about something else entirely, a radical commitment. The answer is to become a sponsor.
And this is so much more than a mentor. This is an all-in, long-haul investment. You literally tie yourself to another soul's journey. You help carry their cosmic debt, and you protect them until they can finally stand on their own 2 feet.
But this is definitely an advanced practice. You can't just decide to do it one day. You need the wisdom to pick a student who has a real shot. You need a massive reserve of your own spiritual energy to even risk the investment. And you need the actual skills to protect them from all those enemies, both internal and external. And the risk here is just staggering. It's a massive gamble. Because if that soul that you've poured thousands of years and all of your energy into, if they ultimately fail and dissolve, your entire spiritual investment is just gone, wiped out forever. Now, if all this sounds a little too abstract, the Source brings it right back down to earth with this beautiful comparison. It says that parenting is basically a real-world version of this. Protecting, teaching, investing everything you have in your child. That's your senior project. It tests everything you've learned. And then comes this powerful, personal gut punch of a conclusion. The father reveals that this isn't just the theory he's talking about. He is a sponsor, and his student is his own son, Evan. Their entire father-son relationship is built on this huge, risky, cosmic commitment. And that's really the thought we want to leave you with. It's a pretty compelling idea, isn't it? That maybe the final exam, the ultimate test, isn't really about you crossing the finish line, but about you being willing to turn around and carry someone else across with you. Thanks for tuning in.